Welcome everyone to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the northwest corner of the map, playing in purple, we have got Aoe4 playing as the Malians, and his opponent in the southeast playing in blue, we've got Aoe4, Give You Anxiety, playing as the Delhi Sultanate. Welcome everyone to this Age of Empires 4 casted game on the map Lipany, which is just absolute mayhem. Look at this map generation. We've got a sacred site in the north, with the hill with some random generation. I mean, I don't know what to say about Lipany at the moment. It's a little bit crazy how you can get some crazy spawns. So we will have to take a look at that. But let's talk about the matchup and the Malians versus the Delhi Sultanate. I love this matchup. And the reason why I love it is because I can tell you now, I'm pretty sure that this is not going to be for the faint of heart. Because the Delhi Sultanate played by Aoe4, I mean, this guy is super aggressive. And with the hands of him on Delhi, well, the Delhi are very strong in the feudal age, so we should expect a lot of aggression. Now, Wham, though, playing as the Malians. The Malians, I feel... they're such a strong civilization right now at the moment. It's because of the units. They've got so many great unique units. The Donso, which has a spear that it can throw as a bit of a ranged attack a little bit. And then you've got the javelin throws, which is such a great unique counter to archers. And it offers them so much going forward into a feudal age fight. And so I think the reason why I think this is going to be a great game is because these two civilizations are geared up to a heavy feudal age affair. And we shall see who comes on top. Will it be the Malians with their unique units? Will it be the Delhi with the access to sacred sites, giving them that gold trickle, benefiting from the research sanctity, allowing their scholars to activate those sacred sites in the feudal age? Well, time will tell, and I'm super excited. I think Delhi's a natural pick on this map, because of course you do get more berries on Lipany, or at least you're supposed to. Speaking of which, let's talk about map generation. We've got gold and stone pretty close together for Aoe4, and the berries and the wood quite close together. So pretty nicely well protected and compact if he needs to. For the Malians, we want to talk about gold, right? Because he wants to get pit mines as much as he can. He's got a forward pit mine, which is not ideal. That could potentially come under pressure. The other gold vein is a little bit further north and pretty far out, I guess, in a way. So pretty exposed, actually, in many ways. So it's kind of a bit cautious. So I think that's going to drag the Malians into a feudal age fight. Like, the Malians do have some options. They could go for a fast castle, like for a garrison build. I think it's a bit greedy going against the Delhi like that, because the Delhi will have a lot of feudal age pressure, right? And so, you know, giving the access to the sacred sites for free is not usually an option. I think in Age of Empires 4, what you rarely tend to get is a couple of civilizations dictating the flow of the game. Like, another civilization that brings to mind is the Mongols, right? With the Mongols trade, if you're up against the Mongols trade, you can't just let that go. You have to do damage. If you let Mongols just trade away, it's a problem. Same sort of thing with the Delhi Sultanate and the sacred sites. If you let the sacred sites get activated and just let the Delhi get free gold like that, you're going to run into problems, right? Because the Delhi can obviously get some markets, or they just need one market, really. They can sell, well, they can buy food and wood if they want to kind of continue in that feudal age. If they want to go to the castle age, they've got that free gold generation from the sacred sites. So it's a very dangerous thing. But I have to say, I mean, generally, you can notice a lot of danger in Age of Empires 4 for letting things slide is things like trade, passive income as well. So when we talk about passive income, I mean, we really got to talk about the Malians. They're going to get the Mansa Quarry to get to the feudal age, which gives them the passive generation of either stone or gold. Which one he decides is up to him. And it's usually gold, though, to be fair. And we'll see the pit mine obviously getting 87 gold per minute as well, very passively. But there's one other thing we need to talk about. And it's very, very important for the Malians. It's the cow. So whilst they get gold passively generated, they can convert that gold into cattle, which then gives them passive generation of food. So when the cattle do garrison inside cattle ranches, they can, get that food passively generated. And not only that, when they get to the castle age, or if they get to the castle age, they can get the Grand Fulani Coral, which basically increases the amount of food per cattle to come in. And so it's an incredibly strong passively generated income for the Malians. Very population efficient. And we'll sure see if that factors into the game today. It's going to be the Tower of Victory for the Delhi Sultanate, which is an interesting choice. It's going to be, yeah, I mean, this has got Aoe4 written all over it, isn't it? Because, of course, that gives an attack speed bonus by 20% for all infantry units. That includes archers, includes spearmen. We tend to expect a stable opening for the Delhi. It's going to open up with the blacksmith first, so we can just queue up some upgrades. But we'll see. It's usually a stable for Ghazi Raiders, right? Because even if the Ghazi Raiders, they're countered by Donsos, for instance, they can use the mobility to kind of dictate when they want to fight, when they don't want to. So it's always good to have Ghazi Raiders to be able to get on the map nice and quickly. And there is that stable, nice and early, and Sanctity coming in. That's the upgrade that we talked about. Oh, that's Piety, rather. Sanctity's queued up next, allowing the scholars to capture those sacred sites. So one thing that we should talk about, one other thing rather, is scholars. So whilst he's not going for the Dome of the Faith, he might want to drop another mosque to get those scholars out. It's a unique thing that the Delhi Sultanate can get. It's very great in a fight for healing. Can really turn the tide of fights just by having that healing power. But we'll see if he invests in a second mosque or not. Usually they don't, because you want to kind of get as much villagers onto food and wood to pump out those units. And there is the first of the units for the Delhi Sultanate, the Ghazi Raider, going across the map. Very, very nice looking unit. Go through the stealth forest. Question is, how will Jiwei find an answer to what's likely to be a Donso javelin thrower armor composition? We often see that from the Malians of heavy infantry, and then in the castle they kind of switch into the Sofa and get imported armor. But we shall see. There's a Donso there already. You can see already getting an attack there, throwing that spear. Just a nice little engagement. Those sorts of small things can play a difference, especially when you've got multiple units, right? It's kind of crazy the spearmen, or the Donso I should say, can do that. They can really kind of kite with those units. And it does mean that Delhi Sultanate can't necessarily engage until they have a really critical force just to wipe everything out. Look at that, another 3 shots off. Granted, they don't do as much damage, but look at this. Already down to 92 HP from 140. Hasn't been able to achieve anything with this. And, yep. The risk of just following one Ghazi Raider, one unit for the rest of the game. Let's move elsewhere. We'll focus on this Ghazi Raider instead. They're moving northwards just to see if they can get some value on the gold vein, on the secondary gold vein, which they can. They're going to push away that village. I'm not sure if he'll get a kill there. Probably not with the Donsos there. Have to back away. Jiwei does back away, but again, losing critical HP without doing too much damage. And I think the Malians will be quite happy the way things turned out right now. He's opting for a 1 single mill cow boom, which is not too bad. Might transition that into a second mill once they get a chance, but of course he needs to focus and make sure he gets a lot of units out. Donso a little bit weak there, but you know, there's not so much that Jiwei can do without archers. Speaking of which, the archers are now going across the map, slowly but surely. And what he will probably look to do is try and get those sacred sites. The question is whether he invests wood into walling them up. It's an interesting one because the walls are good for stopping units getting in quickly, but once they burn them down, just one segment needs to be burned down, and in they're in. And it's a bit difficult. It does buy you time though, to maybe get into position to try and defend any sort of push. So we shall see if Jiwei decides to do that, whether he looks to either... There's 2 options really. Just keep pumping out units to use those as your defense for the sacred sites, or use some palisade wall static defense to see if that can hold the sacred sites for as long as possible. Alright, well we talked about how this could come under pressure. Houses on the front line. The front aspect of that base, but I mean, Wham's not going to be too concerned about that. Losing a house or 2 buys him some time. Wants to dictate the terms of the engagement and then just fight when he's ready, really. Doesn't have to necessarily engage too heavily. And the crazy thing as well, that the javelin throw is going to be doing so much damage to the archers. These guys are so good at what they do. They've got +4 ranged. You know, they've got 8 base attack and then +4 against ranged units. With the 6 tile range, when you factor in it's only 5 tiles for the archers, you know, just micro ability for the javelin throwers. Not only do they counter the archers heavily, they've got increased range. It's so strong, and it's actually surprisingly, whilst we may not see it in this game, it's actually a really strong raiding unit, because these guys, they can take a lot of fire from TCs. They've got 3 ranged armor, which is not too shabby at all when you consider, you know, an archer has 0. +3 ranged armor is very strong. It's not, I don't think it's quite as much as a, I mean, it's more than a Ghazi Raider, in fact. So these guys tank TC fire better than cavalry do, and yeah, it's really strong if they can get a mass up there. Obviously, they don't necessarily kill villagers very fast, but they just need to kill a couple, right, and they're done. And they just don't sustain too much damage. Going to get the sacred site in the middle first here, Jiwei, and then secure that up with palisade walls. Going to be getting iron undermesh, which will be making it really difficult for those archers to do damage against the javelin throwers, but it also buffs up those Donzos a little bit against those archers. I mean, really, for the Delhi Sultanate, they're going to have to use the archers to take out Donzos so that the Ghazi Raiders can try and focus on the javelin throwers. That's generally how the fights work in this matchup, but we shall see if that remains the same. Yeah, we'll get 1 villager. Just commits with 1 Ghazi Raider. We'll get a 2nd villager as well. Trying to wall up here a little bit, Wham, but won't get a lot of them. He will lose. I mean, he should lose another Ghazi Raider. Potentially. Maybe not. Maybe gets out of there. He picks up that 2nd villager, but he's going to lose. Look at that. These guys, when they mass up, you know, javelin throwers aren't necessarily equipped to... They're not meant to kill Ghazi Raiders that easily, but look at this. Managed to 2-shot them with 9 javelin throwers. It's such a strong unit when you critically mass them up. And of course, there's no huge counter. Like, it's really weird. Like, it's sort of similar to the longbowman, right? But where if you have just a huge, massive longbowman, you can start to one-shot even horsemen. The javelin throwers seem to do really, really well. Take a look at this. The Gazi Raider going to go down. Off the range attack, Donso's another Gazi Raider goes down as well. And wow, I'm getting so much value. This is a situation where GUA just cannot push in another Gazi Raider rather. That's unfortunate. It lost a lot of units though. Holy moly. Gonna get the sixth site in the south. He's being challenged though by a scout. And obviously the scout won't be able to deny that. Sixth site in the north being captured and going to be walled up as well. Slowly but surely, things are getting in motion for the Delhi Sultanate. 3 archer ranges and a stable. No scholars inside them though, using the efficient production tech where you can actually garrison scholars inside production buildings to make them produce faster. He's got plenty of production, as it would seem so far. He's going to break through in the middle. As we said, we only need to take 1 tile out of the palisade walls and he's in. Buys himself a little bit of time, Geo, maybe just to get in position, but he lost a couple of units early on and took some suboptimal fights. And when you factor in he's having to spend wood on the palisade walls as well, it does limit his war efforts a little bit. I was heavily focused on berries, as you'd expect, for that free food income. The good thing is, I mean, the tricky part is really is that whilst GUA has a lot of the upgrades and they came in for free, the trouble is the cow boom, right? It's really starting to get online. We've got 2 full cattle ranches, more on the way. It's got the double mill sorted out now for the double cow production, and this is where things start to get really sticky. And I think for a long time, malians have been a bit overlooked in the feudal age. I think they're a really strong feudal age civilization. They've just got so much going for them, with, you know, really good counter units to what the Delhi are going for right now. But we shall see if GOA has a response or not. Does have 2 of the 3 sacred sites, which will be adding a nice bit of gold income for him. Doesn't look like he's got a market just yet, so maybe considering it for the castle age later on in the game, but I don't think that's going to come anytime soon. You know, we could be surprised, but we shall see. You might see a bit of an engagement here on that central sacred site. Maybe GUA trying to capture that once again. Archers about to fire off on the dunces if they can. The javelin throwers start to fire off. There's so many military units here for Wham. 48 versus 42. Units are going to be lost on the retreat. And this is the problem for GUA. Look at the range on those javelin throws. That's so critical, right? Because it's kind of like the English. When you face up against the English, if the longbows get close enough, it's so snowbally. Like, you either have to win the fight really convincingly, because if you don't, if you engage and you're losing, on the retreat, you're going to lose even more. And it's just so bad to run away from a retreat, like kind of retreat from a fight against the Malians and the English. And it feels very similar today, as GUA has to pick his fights carefully. Very carefully. Does have that 3 sacred site activated again. Sacred site victory approaching 10 minutes on the ticking timer. Gonna palisade wall that again, but the real danger comes in with this army. He's gonna need a crazy like micro. And the trouble is losing a Gazi Raider or 2, like you might just now. It's gonna be painful. Loses 1, loses 2. And now the spearmen, the Donso rather, going to engage against those Gazi Raiders. Loses 3 already. Javelin throwers on the back line, going to focus on the archers. Gazi Raiders trying to get a wraparound on the javelin throwers, but look at that. Heals off a second group of Donsos just to prevent that from happening. Great micro by Wham, just to keep an army together, making sure that the Donsos are safe. And now it's going to even use the Donsos to attack and use their range attack with the spears being thrown. Javelin throwers picking everything off. A couple of scholars there from the Delhi Sultanate trying to keep up the unit's health. Trying to inspire them to victory, but he can't just yet. And we talked about it again, like on the retreat. He's going to lose more units. He's going to be hiding off in the stealth forest, but again, he loses another archer. And it's so painful when that happens. 51 military to 39. Well, I'm going to burn through the palisades once again to deny that third sacred site. I'm not too sure if he has a market here, GUA. He doesn't just yet. The gold income can be just kept up for now and secured and kept in the bank. But we might see another engagement on the stealth forest, which might just favour Wham. We shall see. But look at this. Javelin throwers nearly one-shotting a horse. Nearly one-shotting a Gazi Raider, rather. Of course, the Gazi Raider is instead of the horseman. The Gazi Raiders do try and dive in, but the spearmen, the Donsos are in play. And they brace against them. And the Javelin throwers picking away the archers on the back line. The Donso Raiders just in and out, but they just can't take the clean engagement with the Donsos there. Fighting in the stealth forest as we zoom right in. This is a bad fight for GUA. He's losing archers and the Gazi Raiders can't engage. The Donsos in good numbers still. The scholars trying to keep up the health of the archers, but once the archer numbers are starting to dwindle down, this is a problematic situation because there's a lot of overkill for Wham, sure, but it's killing the numbers, right? and the scholars aren't able to heal up the units before they're killed. And this is the problem. The scholars diving in right in front of the enemy army. They're going to be absolutely decimated as well. And I think GUA may have just lost the game there. It's down to half the number of units. Does have 2 more villages, but that's not going to scale too much. It's not a big difference, especially when you consider the cow boom that's in play. Ghazi Raiders going down in the middle. GUA throwing absolutely everything. Now, he has cleared out a lot of the Donso numbers, so this isn't too terrible in the end. But he does need to find a way to get rid of the javelin throwers. The trouble is, he doesn't have enough of those Ghazi Raiders trying to deny that central sacred site being taken. Always trying to keep that sacred site timer ticking. Javelin throwers picking off units on the retreat. Oh, this is rough. He's trying to back away, but it can't get away quick enough. And now he's down to 22 military versus 38. He's going to lose the sacred site anyway. Wham, looking in good position in this match. Time to regroup. Villagers going out. Let's just see where they're going out to the deer pack in the south. He needs food. He needs it fast. That's something that Wham doesn't need. He's got cattle working for him. And it just feels like an extended feudal age, just so much stronger for the Malians, right? They can just sit back on the benefits of their passive generation of resources. Lots of javelin throws, pretty much just javelin throws. And take that back. There are a couple of Donsos. A bit hard to see, but it's going to kite the Ghazi Raiders as best as possible. Donsos, they do start to shield on the front line, and it's going to keep protecting those javelin throws, trying to kite back as much as possible. All damage is good damage coming out from the Malians, taking out some of those Ghazi Raiders. A couple of scholars trying to heal them up, but he's just losing so much. There we go. He's trying to retreat again once again, but the javelin throws firing away and killing units on the retreat. Picks off another archer and a second. Ooh, that retreat is so rough. Javelin throws again, focusing on the archers for now. The Ghazi Raiders do dive in. The Donsos start to poke and prod. They do get a couple of the horsemen or the Ghazi Raiders on the retreat, and this is looking bad. Looks like Wham might take the game. GUA might just throw all his army through this if he can to try and dictate a fight, but he's going to fight with an outpost. That could be a win condition, or at least not a win condition, but a back in to the game mechanic. But he's going to lose villagers doing this. Ghazi Raiders dive in once again. Now he does have the defender's advantage, GUA, so should be able to replenish the army quickly. Now that he's got the outpost, will Wham just fight underneath? I don't think this bothers him. We talked about it earlier on in the game. The javelin throwers have so much ranged armor, +4 now ranged armor because he's got iron undermesh. This doesn't phase him at all. He might even try and take down the outpost with the javelin throwers. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Obviously he's going to focus on the army and the villagers behind. Now he tanks in, and now the Ghazi Raiders trying to pick apart as many of these javelin throwers as can. He doesn't have that critical mass though, GUA, trying to fight as much as he can underneath the outpost, but it just feels like it's too heavy a losses sustained earlier on the game. Doesn't have the military numbers he needs, and all of a sudden this is turning to a very snowball effect. We talked about how this might happen, and it looks like it is. The javelin throws in critical numbers, dishing out so much damage. I think it's probably enough to one-shot a Ghazi Raider at the moment, but they're focusing on all different angles, all different units, and now the numbers are really starting to dwindle. 21 versus 48, fighting underneath the outpost. That's got to be demoralizing for GUA, and he's going to have to head back home, but can he mount a response once again? The scholars trying to heal up as much as they can, but now the javelin throwers probably only need to just focus on the scholars, and it should be down and out. Again on the retreat, loses valuable HP. Can heal up again, but look at the number of units he's got. 22 versus 46, and he's lost that central sacred site. Grand Fulani Coral. Oof, he's got to go to the castle age behind all of this, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if GUA just taps out once the castle age comes in. About to push forward anyway. Javelin thrower is going to focus. One last throw at the dice. The outpost still standing, but for how long, who knows? Javelin thrower is focusing on the Ghazi Raiders, and well, GUA taps out. He knows he's beaten on Lipany, and what was a great masterclass show by Wham for the Malians.